Mr. Speaker. So the presumption that the governor carries around that she is the first governor of Meru County is wrong. There have been 2 other governors. There have been 2 other assemblies. There are laws that have been passed to safeguard each and every sector of this county, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, coming and creating a committee to operate side by side with the Meru Municipal Board, and I'm sure she does, she has not even cared to know who the members are, and directing the committee there to go to town to decide which taxi companies will be carrying passengers from what points. I don't know what she wants to do with G4S company, telling them to straighten up and conduct the elections of matatu operators in town. This is the work of the Meru Municipal Board that was gazetted. There is a criteria for how people in that municipal board are supposed to be appointed, Mr. Speaker, and it's provided in the municipal charter. And I would like to educate the Honorable House, Mr. Speaker, a little bit, to inform this House, Mr. Speaker, about the municipal charter and what it provides when it comes to the appointments of officers in the county, in the municipality, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the governor broke the law in the provisions in appointing a committee to run when there is the municipal charter has provided that the municipality board shall be composed of the following members: 4 members who shall be competitively appointed by the governor, approved by the assembly. She never brought even those she appointed in that committee to this house. Then there are nominees from other umbrella bodies: 1 body representing professional associations in the area, 1 association representing the private sector in the area, a cluster representing registered associations in the informal sector in the area, a cluster representing registered neighborhood associations in the area, and an association of the municipality. The county chief officers responsible for urban development, public service, and environment shall be ex officio members of the municipal board. In appointing members of the board, the municipality, the governor shall ensure gender equity, representation of persons with disability, youth, and marginalized groups. Even in our own committee, I did not hear marginalized groups, disability. Mr. Speaker, these are acts of breaking the law left, right, and center. Now she has placed 2 bodies to manage this town, Mr. Speaker, the Meru municipality. The bodies will be at loggerheads. Who will be controlling the kitty, that the funds now that are used to run the municipality, Mr. Speaker? Is it the illegal committee? And because we cannot sit and wait for someone to go to court to stop the committee, Mr. Speaker, it's this house that will stop the businesses that this governor has established, Mr. Speaker, through impeachment. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I urge this honorable house to consider the impeachment motion. The other charge of incitement, bullying, verification, misleading campaigns against other leaders. We'll just play the video showing the humiliation of the minority leader at Mweronkanga, Mr. Speaker, by the governor, annexed as 11A in the flash drive.
Kumurekera lakini ndinande kumurekera Natabokuwa Murekere Arwesore Mwenda Wesore Mwenda Wesore Mwenda Wesore Uwengwa Awalinda Wesore Awalinda Wesore Arwesore Uwengwa Wesore Kaya
Baya gavana. Wana.
Kila speaker ingo karitie. Wakiwa speaker.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Ano kwa yonde, lakini utayonga chokera bwa ngo. No tunte chokera. Amurungu are uru, amurungu na kutikira ndato. Ndato iranga panaria. Mkiwa ichao machiombe na imo. Tikira. Kerani. Tikira nini? Genda butikira. Na warenga vana ndato ichonga waria. Waita. Nonto number 1. Tikira. Tikira ngwere. No, odira kawasore.
Kukuona tena makosa. Kukuona tena makosa. Mtu nyama asionge kaini ya Kenya. Ilipitona na lana mwenda. Kwa hii kabla yanke sio msiye mbele yake na. Kwa hii
Mr. Speaker and the Honorable House, that single act of what the governor did in Akeve Ward, by the way, the written ones there are misleading. That is the members of the public who are asking the minority leader to apologize. It's the governor who is pushing the public by asking, sorry, by asking the members of the public that he should apologize. That public humiliation of the minority leader is enough. Is an act enough for this impeachment, even without looking at other factors, Mr. Speaker. It's conduct uncalled for from a state officer at the level of the governor. And the governor should stop mistaking herself for mothers of some of us. We have mothers, and she is the governor of this county. Our mothers don't behave like that. Mr. Speaker, she is not the mother to Mwangaza. Mwangaza as his own mother. She is the governor of Meru County. And I don't think Mwangaza's mother can humiliate him the way she was humiliating him in the public. It's a misrepresentation by the office of the governor. It's a representation of the mothers of this county, Mr. Speaker. Mothers don't humiliate their children in public. She broke chapter 73 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Responsibilities of leadership. This is chapter 6. Authority assigned to a state officer is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that is consistent with the purposes and objectives of the Constitution, demonstrate respect for other people. Did you see it there? It was not there. Brings honor to the nation and dignity to that office. This one is even embarrassing the office of the governor. Promotes public confidence in the integrity of the office and vets the state officer the responsibility to serve the people rather than the power to rule them. What you saw there is the governor breaking Chapter 6 on the responsibilities of a leader, of a state officer. She is demonstrating herself to be a ruler, not a leader. She is behaving like a medieval queen of England in 1600s by requiring someone to go before her and apologize. She was almost asking him to kneel before her and go down before her and beg her for mercy. She was even putting the honorable minority leader at risk by inciting the public against him. Mr. Speaker, this behavior continues. Most of the members of this House will not be safe anywhere in this country with these incitements, Mr. Speaker, the members of the public. You will be sitting in barazas and members of this, they will be discussing how to chop the hands of the members of this House, Mr. Speaker, if they disagree with the governor, Mr. Speaker, who is behaving as a ruler. And we cannot sit here as the members of this House, yet we have been given the power by the Constitution to hold the governor to account, to do oversight. Impeachment is a tool of oversight, Mr. Speaker, to be used sparingly. Mr. Speaker, we sat down. I personally sat down and started documenting the wrongs of the governor. I was asking myself, when will she stop? I thought, Mr. Speaker, she is going to change and stop breaking the law, Mr. Speaker. When I realized she is not going to stop, Mr. Speaker, I was forced to bring the motion to this House. And Mr. Speaker, I know that the governor is not about to stop breaking the law. She's not conscious that the law exists. She doesn't care. She thinks she is in the Banana Republic. Mr. Speaker, this is the Republic of Kenya. And this Honorable House is like a sitting of a court of law. And I beg this Honorable House, Mr. Speaker, to reward the governor with a punishment so that the governors who come after her, Mr. Speaker, can learn that there are laws that exist and can behave within the law, Mr. Speaker. Can, Mr. Speaker, treat other leaders with respect. She broke Article 75 of the Constitution, the conduct of state officers. This is Chapter 6. A state officer shall behave, whether in public or official life, in private life, or in association with other persons, in a manner that avoids any conflict between personal interests or public or official duties, compromising any public official interest in favor of personal interest, demeaning the officer once holds. And Mr. Speaker, if you go anywhere in this country and say you are from Meru County, people will start laughing. The office of the governor has been demeaned, Mr. Speaker. People of this county cannot go outside this county and say, Mr. Speaker, we've come from the county of Governor Nimama. People are wondering whether we are tolerant to the kind of lawlessness that is going on in this county. And Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is very specific about the punishment for these behaviors. Part 2. A person who contravenes Class 1 of Article 76, 77, or 78(2) shall be subject to the applicable disciplinary procedure for the relevant office and may, in accordance with the disciplinary procedure referred to in paragraph A, be dismissed or otherwise removed from office. A person who has been dismissed or otherwise removed from office for a contravention of the provisions specified in Clause 2 is disqualified from holding any other state office. This is why the governors who have gone through, whose impeachments have gone through, like Waititu, Sonko, have not been able to come back to public office. Therefore, I want to urge this Honorable House. Since the governor has not demonstrated integrity in leadership, has broken Chapter 6 of the Constitution, with this very act, Mr. Speaker, ought to be held culpable and responsible of our acts. Mr. Speaker, as I close the argument on that section, Mr. Speaker, the Public Officer Ethics Act of 2003 provides it's the Leadership and Integrity Act, sorry, Mr. Speaker, of 2012 that provides that this very act breaks the Leadership and Integrity Act 34 by a state officer shall not bully any person, not just the minority leader. You cannot bully even someone who is borrowing on the streets if you are a state officer. You are supposed to treat them with kindness. Mr. Speaker, this is our own minority leader, a representative of the people of Akede Ward, who I believe should be more than in the area of 30,000 people, Mr. Speaker. She bullied a representative of 30,000 people, Mr. Speaker. This is equivalent to bullying 30,000 people, Mr. Speaker, who the minority leader represents in this House, Mr. Speaker. For purposes of Section 1, bullying includes repeated offensive behavior, which is vindictive, cruel, malicious, or humiliating, and is intended to undermine the person. I think this one, Mr. Speaker, nails the governor as a breaker of the law. And anyone trying to argue otherwise, Mr. Speaker, should visit the Leadership and Integrity Act, Mr. Speaker, and interpret it otherwise. On the area of vilification of other leaders, Mr. Speaker, I will not, there are further evidence that has been attached to the motion, Mr. Speaker, that is also in the public domain. I would like the answered, Mr. Speaker, to play for us Annex 13 on the flash drive on the kind of incitement that the governor did on or around the 12th of September 2022. It's a very short video, Annex 13.
Umo wetu akazuri moro. Kane moriero yanto beto. Kwena anto bae ana beto to bendete mono. Umo wetu akazuri moronge, onge wetu alentore. Naboi balede nabonge, bayuwa kawela Mwangaza, kenda bamwetekeria ukuma kero tesaidi ya RUTO, kawela Mwangaza abala ele dirikari nusu. Hey! Babu yukwenda kawela Mwangaza, ala ele alentore, na babu dirikari nusu. Hey! Kane moriero yanto beto, kwena anto bae ana beto to bendete mono. Umo wetu akazuri moronge, onge wetu alentore. Naboi balede nabonge, bayuwa kawela Mwangaza, kenda bamwetekeria ukuma kero tesaidi ya RUTO, kawela Mwangaza abala ele dirikari nusu. Hey! Babu yukwenda kawela Mwangaza, ala ele alentore, na babu dirikari nusu. Kukolea! Kukolea! Hapo bodi hii kabisa kukolea! Kwao odia kwa ndokanya kazuri moronge na lentore. Lekane lina kawera bange dirikare yawe. Andike kabineti yawe anabaya kwenda kuandike yawe ngo mwene. Nani wije kawera akwambia kurega kubala ya dirikare kabla wega bikina hatira kawera na RUTO. Lakini ane mbele kawela Mwangaza atendo kana na RUTO. Basi kile moja kwa moja. Lakini lentore na kaduri kawela atendo wa dirikare. Na leo altobeto bawa kesi kuisha.
Dirikare te gwa mukate nusu, le te gwa mukate kwata, ti mukate fundo kare. Oke muto kike te gwa ila roba toromera moru na kwa to wakula. Okay, kwa hivyo ungekula kweli kwa nini kuita na kwenda kuaminifu?
What is it, Honorable Mawira, to the majority?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise on a point of order. Standing order number 31, want to move a motion that pursuant to the provisions of standing order number 31.3 of this Honorable Assembly, it extends its sitting time from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. for the fasting, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mawira. Who is seconding your motion?
Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ali, will second the motion, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, please can you take the floor?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, son. I stand to second the motion on extension.
Thank you. Thank you, honourable members. That pursuant to the provisions of standing order number 31.3, this Honourable Assembly extends its sitting time from 12:30 to 2 p.m. Honourable members, if there's any debate, it can arise at this time. Any member who wishes to contribute can catch a speaker's eye. Yes, Honourable Semokalia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And for the purpose of record, my name is Honorable Lucy Mukaria. Mr. Speaker, on the on-site, I rise to support the motion. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important motion that we need to get to the conclusion of it. And it is only important, Mr. Speaker, that we dispense of it conclusively without breaking, Mr. Speaker, so that even the public that is watching us live on various TV stations will be able to get the gist of it, Mr. Speaker. And with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support.
Thank you, Honourable Member, Honourable Semokalia. Any other contribution at this time? Honourable James Mwangaza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. For record, James Mugambi Mwangaza, representing the people of Karamawant. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support the motion that this is sitting extends from 2:30, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you note the issue that we are addressing currently, Mr. Speaker, needs a lot of time, Mr. Speaker, so that we can be able to discuss extensively, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I believe we don't need to rush over this issue, Mr. Speaker, so that all the issue, Mr. Speaker, which we are addressing about the impeachment of the governor, Mr. Speaker, can be addressed conclusively, Mr. Speaker. So I rise to support.
Thank you, Honorable James Mwangaza. Honorable Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. For the purpose of record, Morris Ntarangwe, representing the people of Kirango Want, and I rise to support the motion to extend the this procedure, since it's very important for our people to be able to follow, because I know they are following, to be able to know the reason why we are impeaching the governor, because we are not impeaching the governor because we hate her, but we are impeaching the governor because of the
Honorable Morris, we are not contributing on the issue of the impeachment of the governor. We are contributing on the extension of time, Honorable. Please be guided.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to support the motion to extend the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable. This juncture, if there's any member who has a contrary opinion, please allow me to allow any other member with a contrary opinion. What is it that is banning you, Honorable Mutembei?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Godwin Mutembei, representing the people of Gorge West. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support the extension because this is a very critical motion, a motion that has been signed by 68 out of 69 members of this assembly, Mr. Speaker. So it speaks volume. So it is noble to have ample time for members to contribute towards this motion, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. If there is no other contribution, then I'll allow the leader majority the move of the motion to reply. Thank you, the leader majority. Pursuant the provisions of Standing Order number 54.2, I now put the question, which is that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order number 31.3, this Honorable Assembly extends its sitting from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Will as many as of a similar opinion say aye? Will as many of our contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it and the motion is passed. So the debate can continue. Honorable DMK, please take the floor.
Mr. Speaker, what the members have seen before the motion on extension of time is the governor inciting the members of public against the senator, that the senator is blackmailing her so that she can join the RUTO government. Mr. Speaker, on this verification campaign that the governor has been doing since I've also read the laws that she has broken with them, I would like one more to be played, Mr. Speaker, the last video. About the incitement she has been carrying, Mr. Speaker, across Meru County in Annex 15, where she led a mock prayer against the Catholic Church and the clergy.
Kalita mravyo wetu ambara mwago tumane mbaraki. Ereto kalumane.
Kwanza kila dakika wakiomba wanaomba amani. Na
kalita mravyo wetu ambara mwago tumane mbaraki. Ereto kalumane.
Kwanza kila dakika wakiomba wanaomba amani. Na wewe ndio gavana. Kwani wewe hutaki amani? Na kama hutaki amani, naona umeanza kuchanganyikiwa. Na umechanganyikiwa, ungeingia kwa hii kanisa leo, ulikuwa imevaliwa rent. Mam, ukijua rent inamaanisha nini kikatholik, ngoja anesimama.
Iwa naraweke chia rendi kana chia papo kana chia pinki. Na mengi kadionkwa. bado itakuwa baraka.
Na wale advisor uko nao hawajasoma na wewe hujasoma, ndio unaona umeanza kuingilia hata mambo ya Mungu.
Ndio sababu unaona sisi tumevaa zile nguo za LED, kwa sababu wale wako na shida na sisi, hiyo maombi itaonyesha mambo.
Hiyo kanisa unasikia tukiitwa wezi nini, ajue kama si Katholiki mimi singekuwa naongea. Katholiki ndio ilichukua walemavu, Katholiki ndio inachukua yule mtu mlemavu, inaweka wanakaa na yeye kwa nyumba moja.
Abiumia birevi kuruki tani me battery bakansa Katholiki batonge tuni battery orange misen.
Mr. Speaker, we have a video, no, the mix-up. We have a video where she is praying at Tegoji, a mock prayer that is being conducted at Tegoji against the clergy. That is Tegoji Boys. This one was at Tegoji West. The other one was in Tegoji East. The one for Tegoji East is the video that is mentioned here. Mr. Speaker, we have another charge against the governor, Mr. Speaker, where she mobilized a riotous crowd to come to this assembly, Mr. Speaker, against the provisions of the law. And Mr. Speaker, we have video 16 and 17. So I'd like us to see video 16 when the governor came to this assembly, Mr. Speaker, and accessed the pressings of the assembly by force.
And the speech is still with the County Assembly of Meru. And the speech is still with the County Assembly of, and the speech is still with the County Assembly of Meru. Unfortunately, our Kungoja, they barred me from entering the assembly, which I did by force or by God's grace. And then immediately after kuanza kuongea, wakatoka nje. Na walipotoka nje, wakaimba mapambano. And the speech is still with the County Assembly of Meru.
Mr. Speaker, what you have seen here is the governor herself acknowledging that she broke the law, she entered the assembly by force, she had mobilized a crowd that she brought to the very doors of the assembly, Mr. Speaker. And we know the law provides that it's only the speaker who mandates, the speaker who is allowed to admit people to the assembly, Mr. Speaker, which I believe she never sought your permission, Mr. Speaker. And the husband is misleading the public that look at the Meru MCAs throwing stones. Yet the video is showing people throwing stones inside the assembly.
Honorable DMK, the speaker does not permit. It's a procedural process. It's a procedure that's supposed to be followed that is outrun in the Constitution. You can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the information. She broke the provisions of the Powers and Privileges Act, Mr. Speaker, regarding the access to the pressings of the Assembly 5, that a member of the public may, subject to this act and standing orders as such other orders and directions may be issued by the Speaker, access such places within the precincts of the Assembly as may be specified. So that process the Speaker has informed the House about was not followed when that crowd was brought. It also broke the provision number 7 of the County Assembly's Powers and Privileges Act of 2017 on the Assembly, demonstrating and picketing on the precincts of the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, what you have seen there is the governor not willing to follow the law, saying that she's not a coward, she will do whatever she wants. But Mr. Speaker, if we allowed people, ordinary people, to do whatever they wanted, there would be no order in this country. There would be no order, Mr. Speaker. Nobody would follow the law. If the public officers who are supposed to be examples to other people are the ones breaking the laws, Mr. Speaker, then, Mr. Speaker, nobody is going to represent this, to respect this assembly. Instead of peaceful demonstrations, people will be coming to throw stones to this house, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, the governor broke the law, and that behavior, Mr. Speaker, again, is contrary to the provisions of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on the conduct of state officers, where the Chapter 6 demands that whether in public or private, a public officer should carry themselves in a manner depicting the office that they occupy. Mr. Speaker, we have other videos where she is directing officers of the county government to break the constitution, Mr. Speaker. And I would like the video Annex 19 be played to this house, Mr. Speaker.
Tena wasiwasi ya kwamba I made the right choice ojere goji na kiangwa kana getu kenda kapeperusha bendera ya Meru County kageta kwa waziri chaweka na bado sijakosa matumaini nembije gindare gakina nalaka kama la pekaranja hapana Huyo ako kwa serikali ndani kabisa. General Luhana ya muingira kia watiri kuinga milango. Serikali ya mama ni kubwa sana. Akalandene. Na kwanza kamuleta ili ubwekeza na gari aja. Wala Luhana ya ni ukumenya muno. Bwana asifiwe. Oyo mwoga shurike gojojo. Leonde. Ena power. Na ndienda kuleta ororia ndenzumba ya mwathani. Gaka kana kamo jumbe. Kila skole cha MCA atakuwa mjumbe. Andika leo andika. Gavana wenu ni Kiroria. Atakuwa mjumbe. Na agikarakara tiga murango jiro ingana jo waziri wa county aka waziri wa national government. Bwana asifiwe. Leo kana butika make ndagite gojire tano na wakuririkana Kawira kambivye gojiganto kega lakini ngomane murongo. Ni murongo. Nego jinkari gwatiro. Nankari kaji.
The last one, Annex 20.
Serikali ya mama iko imara. Ndio tuambeletea wewe. Tureja kuja next week, tutongere tune kaste, turogote siana pego chibaba tena ambasari baki na ngayero ambasari. Ndio komi. Kaste uongoze hiyo exercise. Tuana tuankigua. Tuana tena inya ambege kwa legalisti. Ana beto bazo. Na kuna uoga. Na serikali ya mama iko imara. Leo bali wakawera. Leo ntone baraka lile kando. Uyo utiliteka ya.
Mr. Speaker, what you see there, I've translated those videos from Kimeru to English, is the governor, first of all, trashing the exercise that was conducting by this house of looking at the various CECs that the governor nominated, and trashing the honorable members by saying, for example, she is going to pick Caste Mecheni and bring her to Egoji West where she was contesting for MCA so that she can create discomfort to the sitting member of the county assembly, and she will empower her to ensure that the honorable member of that area is nothing. This is someone who is cancelling the results of the elections, Mr. Speaker, of 2018 by saying that this is the one who should have been elected, Mr. Speaker. The governor is again breaking the law by directing Caste to go picking children who should be rewarded with bursaries, Mr. Speaker, of 10,000 shillings each, and submit the list to the governor so that she can give the bursaries. Mr. Speaker, bursaries of this county are given by the law. The Retention Enhancement Fund Act of 2016 provides that a committee shall be formed of various people, that is to sit down and look at the application forms for bursaries and decide which children should be given bursaries and how much. It's not the governor to decide how much. It's not the governor to decide who. It's that committee that has been mandated by the law. It's not the chiefs or the castes of this world who the governor is giving mandates to go around collecting children to be given bursaries, Mr. Speaker, to do that. It's the work of the Enhancement Retention Fund. And I would like, Mr. Speaker, to communicate even to those who are being given directions to carry them, Mr. Speaker. They are putting themselves on the side of the law and they can be sued, Mr. Speaker, for wrongful things, Mr. Speaker, and they can be punished by the law. Mr. Speaker, the governor has not stopped there. She went on and discarded the provisions of the County Assembly's Approval Act of 2016 on what is supposed to happen when the names of appointees from our office are rejected by the County Assembly. Mr. Speaker, you cannot collapse the government like she did. You cannot reduce the ministries like she did. You can only, Mr. Speaker, collapse them before bringing the names, so that you bring the specific names of the 6 that you have collapsed them to. You bring 6 names. Not after the Assembly, Mr. Speaker, has rejected the names, that you go compress the ministries to 6. It's circumventing the law, Mr. Speaker, and the provisions of the Public Appointments and the County Approval Act of 2017, Mr. Speaker. Number 10 reads as follows. Where the name of a candidate is rejected by a county assembly, the appointing authority shall submit to the county assembly the name of another candidate, and the procedure for approval specified in this act shall apply accordingly. A nominating authority shall not resubmit the name of a candidate whose nomination has been rejected by the county assembly unless the circumstances relied on for the rejection of the appointment of the candidate did not exist or cease to exist at the time of rejecting the nomination of the candidate. Mr. Speaker, inasmuch as the law has not stipulated when she should resubmit the names, it should have either stayed as 3, the others to stay as vacant, not collapsing. It's circumventing the law. When you collapse to 6, it means you're not going to submit, and then you lump offices together, Mr. Speaker. So it's breaking the law, Mr. Speaker, and for the governor of this county to follow the law, Mr. Speaker, I think we need to use her to set an example to the other governors, Mr. Speaker, because our current governor, the Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, is not keen on following the law or doing the right things, Mr. Speaker. She's just doing populist things, Mr. Speaker, that are not permitted under any law. Mr. Speaker, earlier on, I tabled a report on the public participation that was conducted together with this, that was conducted on the 13th of December 2022, Mr. Speaker, on this impeachment motion. Mr. Speaker, public participation has been placed as an integral part of the impeachment processes or Mr. Speaker, public participation is an integral process, section is an integral part of any activity that is carried out by public bodies, the County Assembly being involved, being one of them, Mr. Speaker. And also, Mr. Speaker, the fact that this assembly sits in public, Mr. Speaker, in an open forum is itself also a form of public participation since the assembly sits in public. I will briefly go through the report, Mr. Speaker, that was prepared, briefly, Mr. Speaker, that was prepared after the public participation exercise yesterday. Mr. Speaker, sir, an organized process called public participation involves consulting with the people, institutions, and groups before making choices. It is intended to give the voiceless a voice and solidify the idea of agency for the county government, making it an agent of the people. As a result, the County Assembly of Meru adopts the following forms of public participation: informing the public by providing information to help them understand the issues, options, and solutions; consulting with the public to obtain their feedback and alternatives or decisions; involving the public to ensure their concerns are considered throughout the decision-making process, particularly in the development of decision criteria and options; collaborating with the public to develop decision criteria and alternatives and identify the preferred solutions; empowering the public by placing final decision-making authority in their hands. Article 1 of the Constitution states that the sovereign power belongs to the people, and Article 10(2)(a) and 4th Schedule Part 2(14) of the Constitution of Kenya and is stipulated as a function of the county government. Article 118(1)(b) of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 also provides that Parliament should facilitate public participation in the business of the Parliament and its committees. Article 196 of the Constitution provides that the County Assembly should conduct its businesses in an open manner in public sections, in open manner in public. Section 87 to 92 and 115 of the County Governments Act 2012 outline the principles of public participation and the imperative for facilitating public participation in the work of the county government. In this regard, the office of the clerk came up with a public participation schedule to get the views of the public in respect to the motion to impeach the governor of Meru, the Honorable Bishop Kawira Mwangaza, over the 16 sub-counties of Meru County. Upon developing a schedule, the same was published in the national newspapers in circulation in the country, Standard and Nation, on the 7th December 2022, in time to allow members of the public to prepare and attend the public participation process. The published schedule showing the venue in which the public participation will take place in the published Meru County sub-counties. Mr. Speaker, sir, the following sub-counties in Meru are published as the areas where public participation will take place on the 13th of December 2022. Egoji Sub-County, Department Office Egoji, Abogeta Sub-County, Sub-County Headquarters Kanyakine, Nkwene Sub-County, Shabaa Stadium Mkobo, Central Imenti Sub-County, AIPCA St. Matthews Mariene, Imenti East Sub-County, Kianikamwani Kadhura, Imenti North Sub-County, Kianjore Youth Center, Bore East Sub-County, Kirua Katodip, Bore West Sub-County, Kambe EAPC, Tigania West Sub-County, Kirindene Social, Tigania East, Mabura Methodist Church, Tigania Central, Kigucho Methodist Church, Igembe East Sub-County, Methodist Church, Kiengo, Igembe Central Sub-County, Machungulu Social, Igembe South Sub-County, Gitora EAPC Church, Igembe North Sub-County, Global Abundant Church, Muringene. Mutua, and lastly, Mutuati Sub-County, Inono Market. Mr. Speaker, sir, thereafter, the public process took place at different sub-counties on the 13th of December 2022. Various officers of the County Assembly of Meru informed the public on the contents of the notice of motion to impeach the governor as listed below. Nepotism, illegal appointments, unlawful dismissals, and the usurpation of the constitution and statutory functions of the county organs, incitement, bullying, vilification, and misleading campaigns against other leaders, forceful entry into the assembly precincts and mobilization of unlawful riots against members of the assembly, unlawful riots against members of the county assembly, violation of public finance management laws, misconduct relating to the nomination of CECs. The citizens' representatives from each locations in Meru sub-counties were requested to present their views regarding the motion to impeach the governor of Meru. More to that, there was impressive turnout at various sub-counties in Meru County, as evidence at the public participation by the attached list of participants. Additionally, some participants forwarded their opinions in form of written memoranda. Other members of the public dropped their memoranda before the date of the public participation. Further, some members of the public forwarded their views to the county on the County Assembly public participation email, which reads publicparticipationmeru@gmail.com. Mr. Speaker, sir, divergent views were heard on the stage by the members of the public. Just to sample a few, the following common views were presented by the members supporting and opposing the motion to impeach the governor of Meru County. About 1,300 residents of different sub-counties registered to orally give their views in supporting or opposing the impeachment motion. 1. Views of the members of the public supporting the motion to impeach governor of the Meru County, Kawira Mwangaza. Members of the public supported the motion and many cited the following grounds: alleged nepotism displayed by the governor by employing her relatives, such as the sister as a personal assistant and another sister as a bodyguard; alleged reappointment of Rufus Miriti as the county secretary without following the proper procedure of reemployment; alleged misconduct of the governor amounting to violation of various sections of the constitution; nepotism, discrimination of officers of the county government of Meru offices; lack of decorum and respect to other elected leaders; removal of various officers from office illegally. The governor is alleged to run the county affairs on Okolea Kitty, according to the members of the public, and turning the county into one woman and husband show. The governor is alleged to have incited the citizens of Meru County against other leaders. The governor is alleged to have incited the public against the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Medicare, Interior, Public Rally in Rare, in Maua, in Maua. The governor is alleged, in Rare, in North, Igembe North. The governor is alleged to have accused members of the County Assembly of Meru by calling them cartels. The governor is alleged to have accused members of the County Assembly of Meru and other elected leaders of greed, corruption, and intimidation. The governor is alleged to have appointed persons in the Meru Municipal Board on the 21st of October at Kinoru Stadium without following the required procedures and laws. This is because one member said, this is because members of the Municipal Board were gazetted in the Kenya Gazette on the 7th of December 2018. The governor is alleged to have proposed politicians who vied for the MCA seat and lost as members of the county assembly in various wards. An example is alleged by appointment of Castle Mecheni in Negoju East Ward and somebody by the name of Tirum in Abogeta West Ward as an alternative MCA. The governor is alleged to have forced several members of the County Assembly of Meru to apologize in public. An example is the member of County Assembly for Akede Ward. The governor is alleged to have not initiated any developments in several ones in Meru County so far. The governor was alleged to be incompetent and lacking leadership qualities. The governor was alleged to have not utilized public funds in the right manner. The governor is alleged to have not understood and acknowledged the other leaders who were chosen by voters in Meru County. The governor is alleged to frustrate the process of reconciliation between her and the MCAs. The governor is alleged to have abused MCAs on 12 December 2022 by calling them foxes. Further, about 300 public participants presented written memoranda in support of the motion to impeach the governor. 2. Views of the members of public opposing the motion to impeach the governor of Meru County, the Honorable Kawira Mwangaza. These are the reasons the members of public who are opposing the motion give. The alleged impeachment of the governor of Meru is mainly borders on claims of nepotism, irregular recruitment, failure to protect public interest and conflict of interest. The alleged aforementioned claims were reported to EACC, which is the investigating body, not the MCAs. That a determination is yet to be made by the information body. That some claimants in the impeachment motion are under investigation. That the proposed impeachment motion was brought early, and the governor should be given more time to establish plans to develop Meru County. That the alleged grounds cited in the impeachment motion are not cited anywhere in law. That the alleged grounds cited in the impeachment motion have no basis. That the governor is development-oriented and the impeachment motion is biased and based on malice. That the governor, MCAs, and other leaders have not allegedly exhausted all forms of alternative dispute resolution mechanism to resolve their differences. That the governor is allegedly being impeached for being a woman in leadership as the governor of Meru County, as the governor of county government of Meru. On or about 30 residents of different sub-counties presented written memoranda to oppose the impeachment of the governor. Mr. Speaker, in a nutshell, it was observed that the principles and the key parameters necessary to conduct a public participation were met in the public participation exercise conducted at the sub-county level in Meru County. However, these are the findings of the public participation process in different sub-counties. Some members of the public stated their views in written memoranda and did not sign the memoranda. It's something we have seen. Some sub-counties conducting public participation faced challenges such as chaos, residents interrupting the public participation process and harassing the county assembly officers. In all sub-counties, residents gave their views in support or against the impeachment motion. That in Tigania Central Sub-County, the public participation process was to take place at Kigucho Methodist Church. However, the process did not take place in the same premises as the Reverend Daniel Medekan declined to allow the public participation process to take place in the church. The Reverend states that he was not consulted and he could not allow a political process to take place in the church. That the officers of the assembly moved to Kegoswa Chief's camp where submissions and registration went smoothly until the process was interrupted. Thereafter, the police officers restored order and the public participation process resumed and ended seamlessly. In Egembe South Sub-County, the public participation process was interrupted abruptly by youths chanting slogans in favor of the governor. This led to police officers using tear gas to control the residents. Thereafter, the process proceeded to the end without any interruptions. That in Imenti North Sub-County, officers from the county assembly were blocked out of Kianjuri Center. As a result, the officers were forced to break into the hall. Thereafter, there was around the youth that interrupted the participation process severally. Officers of the county assembly were harassed, and objects such as eggs thrown at them by around the youth chanting "Mama, Mama" slogans. The officers managed to restart the meeting several times, and finally, it was not conducive to proceed with the public participation exercise. Around the youth refused to sign their attendance sheets, and some youth attempted to tear their attendance sheets. However, some views and memoranda were collected by officers of the county assembly from the venue. In Motuate sub-county, the public participation went smoothly and there were no distractions at all. In Tigania sub-county, 2 opposing groups and altercations for like 20 minutes. Later, the exercise resumed and the process went down smoothly. In Mwangaza sub-county, the public participation exercise went smoothly and there were no distractions. In Kwene sub-county, the public participation process went on smoothly until it was interrupted by Nick Mburugo and his supporters. However, the process was restored by police officers and the process proceeded peacefully, successfully. In Bohori West sub-county, the public participation process was going smoothly until the first speaker took the floor. Visibly drunk goons hijacked the meeting chanting "Mama, Mama" slogans. Interestingly, the area warned administrator mobilized residents to interrupt the public participation process and declined to sign the attendance sheet. Instead, the warned administrator mobilized some residents to sign an independent attendance sheet and presented it to the officers of the Meru County Assembly at the premises. Nevertheless, officers of the County Assembly of Meru managed to collect views and memoranda despite the chaotic nature of the meeting. In Imenti Central Sub-County, the public participation process began smoothly, and there were a few disruptions. By around a ground led by someone in quotes Supo Mioro, who successfully tried to disrupt the process. The crowd snatched one signing sheet and teared it. Additionally, the crowd snatched and stole a mobile device in one of the officers of the county assembly, from one of the officers of the county assembly, facilitating the public participation process. Thereafter, the officers left the premises for a while and restarted the process, which was usually uninterrupted. However, the officers managed to obtain some written memoranda and opinions of residents who were willing to give their opinions. The security team did not put in any efforts to restore the public participation process, and the officers of the county assembly took shelter at the MCA's office. In Tigania West Sub-County, the public participation process was smooth without any interruption and maximum cooperation by residents. In Mwangaza Central, the public participation process took place smoothly without interruptions from residents. Instead, the residents cooperated and gave their views. In Imenti East Sub-County, the process began smoothly and the officers of the assembly began registering members of the public. A changed youth group disrupted the meeting by snatching attendance registration forms and written submissions. Conclusively, the process restarted again and was completed successfully. In Egoji Sub-County, the public participation process began smoothly before it was disrupted by residents chanting "Mama, Mama" slogans. According to the residents, the attendance sign list meant that they supported the impeachment motion. The residents later demanded to be given the list, but the policemen escorted the officers to hide the same list at the police station. The round crowd was calmed down by the area MCAs, and the process of the willing residents to give their views and memoranda proceeded successfully. In Mwangaza North Sub-County, the public participation process was conducted smoothly without any disruptions, and the residents were very cooperative. In Abogeta, the process began smoothly, and in a short while, some residents grabbed the signing sheets and teared them. Additionally, there were 2 dissenting groups shouting against each other. Later on, some members of the public gave their views and memoranda to officers of the county assembly usefully. In Bohori Sub-County, the process began smoothly until it was injury interrupted by some residents. There was a lot of heckling, which forced the Secretariat of the County Assembly of Meru to call for additional security. The security personnel were able to calm the residents, and the public participation process resumed smoothly. Mr. Speaker, the move of this motion, I, Dennis Kiogora, DMK, is particularly grateful to the offices of the Speaker, the Clerk of the County Assembly of Meru, and members of the Assembly, staff, and members of the public for facilitating the public participation exercise. Mr. Speaker, as I close this motion, moving this motion, Mr. Speaker, I urge this Honorable House to interrogate the contents of the motion, Mr. Speaker, the attached evidence, and even the feelings of the members of the public, even those who are opposing the motion, Mr. Speaker, from the public, and hold the governor of Meru County to account, Mr. Speaker, for the wrongs she has committed, Mr. Speaker, while in office, Mr. Speaker, which are not about to stop, Mr. Speaker, because even the members of the public themselves, through the public participation, have brought to the attention of this House some occurrences that are taking place even as the impeachment goes on, and the carefree attitude and the insults that the governor is still hurling at this House even as this process continues. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move this motion and invite the Honorable Member for Kibiricha Ward, Jacob Muirigi, to second the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Dennis Kiogora, for moving the motion. Now it's the chance for Honorable Jacob Muirigi, MCA Kibiricha. Please take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For record purposes, my name is Jacob Muirigi. I'm the MCA for Kibiricha Ward. Mr. Speaker, before I give my contribution, allow me to appreciate the Honorable Dennis Kiogora for appropriately moving the impeachment motion. And Mr. Speaker, it is important we are proud as a House, because you realize, Mr. Speaker, we have a responsibility in this House whereby we are required to defend the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our Constitution gives or says the sovereign power belongs to the people. And this power may be exercised either directly or indirect through elected leaders. Mr. Speaker, we are elected leaders, and therefore we have the responsibility to defend the Constitution and also to act towards the wishes of our people. Mr. Speaker, this Honorable House has a constitutional mandate to see to it that the Constitution is really, the Constitution and other laws of the land are adhered to. In this respect, Mr. Speaker, one of our responsibilities is Mr. Speaker, to oversight what the executive does. And in this case, Mr. Speaker, the governor in question, the one Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, has really defied the Constitution and other laws of this land. Mr. Speaker, we have a duty to pray as a House, and we can't sit, Mr. Speaker, and watch the governor act or do all irregularities that are going on. There are a lot of irregularities, Mr. Speaker. The image of this county, Mr. Speaker, has been totally distorted. We have a duty, Mr. Speaker, to redeem Meru County. Mr. Speaker, there is no sanity in this county. Mr. Speaker, we have a duty to restore sanity in Meru County. This county government, Mr. Speaker, and the people of Meru are in the hands of a dictator and governor, Mr. Speaker. We have, Mr. Speaker, to restore the possession, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the move of the motion has been quite elaborate on the accounts that Mr. Speaker which he has really done a strong case. Therefore, I will take a few issues in support as I second Mr. Speaker. And my first issue, Mr. Speaker, I will refer to the dismissal of the CEO of the County Revenue Board. Mr. Speaker, there are laws that govern each and every office, Mr. Speaker. In this case, Mr. Speaker, the chief executive was in office until when Her Excellency the Governor dismissed him. This was out of revenge, Mr. Speaker. You will recall during 2 years ago, Mr. Speaker, when the same officer was discharging his official duties, Mr. Speaker. And one time, he went to visit Baita TV to demand for the license payment, Mr. Speaker, which never happened. Mr. Speaker, immediately after assuming office, the governor, Kawira Mwangaza, went ahead and dismissed the one honorable, Dr. Ntungai, for actually demanding the license. So the governor used her office and powers that are in the governor's office to revenge against an officer who was in his line of duty. That is misuse of office, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are several cases, Mr. Speaker, which has been cited by Honorable Kawira, and also the issue of nepotism. You will recall, Mr. Speaker, recently, and that was 4th last month, we were invited to the Office of Controller of Budgets. Mr. Speaker, this Honorable House was represented by a very able team led by yourself, the Majority Leader, the clerk of this assembly, the budget officer, and myself, Mr. Speaker, the chair for Budget and Appropriations Committee. The other side, Mr. Speaker, was represented by Her Excellency the Governor, the newly recruited CEC, the chief officer, and 2 sisters to the governor, Mr. Speaker, were in the boardroom negotiating on behalf of Meru County. Nepotism, Mr. Speaker. Nepotism, Mr. Speaker. How can these sisters sit in a boardroom negotiating on behalf of a county government? Mr. Speaker, that can't be allowed to happen. And Mr. Speaker, it is not right. A lot of irregularities, Mr. Speaker, are going on, and our governor has really proved that she cannot abide by the law. She is out to break every law. This Honorable House has enacted several laws, but the governor is acting to the contrary. None of the existing laws she seems to abide to. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, without using a lot of time, I second the motion that seeks the removal of Governor Bishop Kawira Mwangaza. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Jacob Mwirigi, for seconding the motion. And now, honorable members, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 54.1, I now propose the question which says, whereas Article 10 of the Constitution, Section 3 and 16 of the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012, the Leadership and Integrity Act, and Section 9, 10, and 11 of the Public Office Ethics Act 2003, the Public Officer Ethics Act established, among others, the rule of law, democracy, human rights, dignity, courtesy, respect, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, poverty, professionalism, non-discrimination, protection of the marginalized, good governance, transparency, and accountability as part of the national values and the principles of governance. Article 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution requires state officers at all times, whether in public or private life, to behave in a manner that, among other things, 1, brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office that a state officer owns. Ensure decisions are not influenced by nepotism, favoritism, and other improper motives. 3, demonstrate discipline and commitment in service to the people and avoids demeaning the office that a state officer owns. Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution and Section 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act 2012, the County Government Act, provide for the values and the principles of public service and establish an elaborate framework for the establishment of county public offices and the recruitment, employment, and dismissal of county public officers. Honourable members, Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Government Act, and the Standing Order number 65 of the Standing Orders of the Assembly, provide for the impeachment of county governors for, among other things, gross violation of the Constitution, 2, gross violation of any other law, 3, abuse of office, and 4, gross misconduct. The governor has engaged in multiple discreditable acts. The discreditable acts that severally and collectively amount to gross violation of the Constitution, 2, gross violation of various national and county laws, and 3, abuse of office, and 5, gross misconduct. The discreditable acts have exposed the office of the governor, the assembly and its leadership, and the people of Meru County, the county, to national shame, embarrassment, ridicule, and disrepute. The discreditable acts have created a toxic environment which the governor cannot be legitimately expected or relied upon to work harmoniously with the staff and elected leaders at the national and the county levels of government, and the governor's continued stay in office under the prevailing toxic environment will inevitably undermine effective and efficient service delivery and thus hurt the interests of the people of the county. The Assembly resolves to impeach the governor, and Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Government Act, and Standing Order 65 of the Standing Orders of the Assembly on the following grounds: nepotism, illegal appointments, unlawful dismissals, and assumption of the constitutional and statutory functions of county organs. Appointment of husband to county office. On or around the 30th September 2022, the governor engaged in 1, gross misconduct, 2, grossly violated Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution, 3, grossly violated Section 17 of the Public Officer Ethics, and 5, and 4, grossly violated Section 55, 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act. 5, grossly violated Section 6 and 11 of the Meru County Youth Service Act 2018, and grossly violated Section 4 of the Public Appointment County Assemblies Approval Act 2017 by A. Appointing a husband to the non-existent position of the patron of the Meru Youth Service before conducting a transparent and competitive recruitment service. B, appointing a husband to the non-existent position of the Meru as well as ambassador before conducting a transparent and competitive recruitment process. 3, disregarding the criteria for the establishment of offices within the county public service. D, failing to submit a husband's name for approval by the Assembly before making the impunged appointment. E, the appointing Rufus Meriti as the County Secretary without the approval of the Assembly. F, appointing the foreign and qualified persons to hold county offices without undertaking a transparent and competitive recruitment process. 1, Monene Samaritan as Director, Special Programs. 2, Ernest Mutembei, Director, Monitoring and Evaluation. 3, Henry Mzungu as Director of Administration, and Hilary Sandi as Director of Communication. G, usurping or thrashing the constitutional and statutory functions of 1, the Assembly, 2, the Meru County Public Service Board, and 3, the Meru County Youth Service Board. Evidence of the governance: 1, gross misconduct; 2, gross violation of Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution; 3, gross violation of Section 17 of the Public Officer Ethics Act; 4, gross violation of Sections 55, 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act; and 5, gross violation of Section 6 and 11 of the Meru County Youth Service Act 2018, and gross violation of Section 4 of the Public Appointment County Assemblies Approval Act 2017 is set in the video saved as Annex 2, appointment of husband Annex 3, appointment of Rufus Merit Annex 4, appointment of the Sandi in the first disc presented herewith. The transcripts, translations of these videos are attached to Annex 2, Annex 3, Annex 4, to the affidavit sworn by Dennis Kiagura DMK on 21st November 2022 in support of this motion. The affidavits in support of the motion. Further evidence is in the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission data and dated 19th October 2022 and a screenshot from the governor's Facebook page, respectively attached as Annex 5 and Annex 5A to the affidavit in support of the motion. Road-signed appointments of county workers at Timau. On or around 22nd September 2022, the governor grossly violated 1, Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution; 2, grossly violated Section 55, 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act by A, appointing firefighters at a public gallery at Timau in misguided and sustainable populism before conducting a transparent and a competitive recruitment process. B, subjecting potential applicants for county jobs to public humiliation by converting the crowd at the public gallery as the advertising, recruiting, shortlisting, and appointing authority, and usurping and thrashing exclusive constitutional and statutory mandates and the functions of the Meru County Public Service Board. Evidence of the governor: 1, gross violation of Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution, and 2, gross violation of Section 55, 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act is set in the video saved as Annex 6 in the first disc and presented herewith. The transcript translation of the video is attached to Annex 6A to the affidavit to the motion. Road signed appointment of county workers at Nkobo. On around 9 September 2022, the governor engaged 1. Gross misconduct, 2. Gross violation of Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution, and 3. Gross violation of Sections 55, 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act by A. Appointing the market guns at a public rally at Nkobo, misguided and unsustainable populism before conducting a transparent and competitive recruitment process, and B. Usurping exclusive constitutional and statutory functions and mandates of the Meru County Public Service Board. Evidence of the governor: 1. Gross misconduct, gross violation of Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution, and 3. Gross violation of Section 55, 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act is set in the video saved as Annex 7 in the first disc presented herewith. The transcript stroke translation of the video is attached as Annex 7A to the affidavit in support of the motion. Road signed appointment of county workers at Kianjai. On or allowed 9 September 2022, the governor engaged in 1. Gross misconduct, 2. Gross violation of Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution, and 3. Gross violation of Section 55, 59, 59A, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act by A. Illegally directing warrant and sub-county administrators to employ sweepers and market guns at a public rally at Kianjai. Misguided and unsustainable populism before conducting a transparent and competitive recruitment process, and B. Directing warrant and sub-county administrators to usurp exclusive constitutional and statutory functions and mandates of the Meru County Public Service Board. Evidence of the governor's: 1. Gross misconduct, 2. Gross violation of Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution, and 3. Gross violation of Section 55, 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act is set in the video and saved as Annex 8 in the flash disk presented herewith. The transcript translation of the video is attached as Annex 8 to the affidavit in support of the motion. Illegal Committee on the Meru Municipality. On around 21st October 2022, the governor: 1. Grossly violated Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution. 2. Grossly violated Section 12, 14, 15, and 20 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act. And 3. Grossly violated the charter establishing the Meru Municipality by A. Illegally appointing a committee to manage Meru Municipality affairs at a public rally at Kinoru, yet the function is vetted in the Meru Municipal Board. 2. Directing the aforesaid illegal committee to usurp the functions of the Meru Municipal Board. C. Usurping the functions of the Meru County Public Service Board. D. Trashing the procedures for the appointment of county public officers. And E. Spewing aids, a speech against the G4S company. Evidence of the governor: 1. Gross violation of Article 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution, and gross violation of Section 12, 14, 15, and 20 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act is set in the video saved as Annex 9 in the first disc presented herewith. A transcript stroke translation of the video is attached as Annex 9A to the affidavit in support of the motion. Incitement, bullying, edification, and misleading campaigns against other leaders. The governor has grossly violated Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2. Grossly violated Section 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, grossly violating Section 2934 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, repeatedly engaged in gross misconduct by A, owning public verification, incitement, and intimidation rallies against members of the Assembly and other elected leaders. B, falsely accusing members of the Assembly and other elected leaders of cartelism, blackmail, greed, corruption, and intimidations. C, holding public verification and incitement rallies against the Catholic Church and the Catholic clergy. And D, inciting the public against the members of the Assembly and other elected leaders, while knowing that church conduct can easily trigger violent reactions and pose serious breaches of the peace. Evidence of specific illustrative examples of the governor's verification and incitement campaigns against members of the Assembly and other elected leaders are outlined in paragraph 7 to 12 below. Humiliation of the minority leader. On or around 24th October 2022, the governor, 1, grossly violating Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2, grossly violating Section 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, grossly violating Section 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, engaged in gross misconduct by A, bullying and inciting the public against the minority leader and the member of Assembly for Wakidhi 1, Honorable Mwangaza, the minority leader at a public rally held at Mweronkanga. B, requiring the minority leader to make public apology for unknown and disclosed wrongs at the public rally held at Mweronkanga. C, violently grabbing microphone from the minority leader at the public rally held at Mweronkanga. D, offering to protect the minority leader against the Speaker of the Assembly from unknown and undisclosed dangers. And E, falsely accusing the members of the Assembly and other elected leaders of cartelism, blackmail, greed, corruption, and intimidation. Evidence of the governors. 1, gross violation of Article 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2, gross violation of Section 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, gross violation of Section 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, gross misconduct is set in the video as Annex 11 in the first disc and presented herewith. The transcription / translation of the videos is attached as Annex 11A to the affidavit in support of the motion. Verification of the minority chief whip and other leaders. On or around 25th October 2022, the governor, 1, grossly violating Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2, grossly violating Section 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, grossly violating Section 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, engaged in gross misconduct by A, inciting the public against the minority whip and the member of the Assembly for Avogeta West, Honorable Dennis Kiogorandi MK, the minority whip, at a public rally at Ngongo in Avogeta West. 1. B, falsely accusing the minority whip of stoning R, and C, falsely accusing the members of the Assembly and other elected leaders of cartelism, blackmail, greed, corruption, and intimidation. Evidence of the governor. Evidence of the governors. 1, gross violation of Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2, gross violation of Section 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, gross violation of Section 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, gross misconduct is set in the video saved as Annex 12 in the first disc, presented herewith. The transcription / translation of the video is attached as Annex 12A to the affidavit in support of the motion. Verification of the Senate of Meru County. On or around 12 September 2022, the governor, 1, grossly violated Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2, grossly violated Section 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, grossly violated Section 29 and 4 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, engaged in gross misconduct by A, inciting the public against the Senator of Meru County, Honorable Kaduri Murongi, at a public kirari eonda atilare in Tunene want. B, falsely accused the Senator of demanding a share of county government appointments. C, falsely accusing the Senator of antagonizing and creating a wedge between the Governor and the President of the Republic of Kenya. And D, falsely accusing the Senator of cartelism, blackmail, greed, corruption, and intimidations. Evidence: 1, gross violation of 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2, gross violation of Section 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, gross violation of Section 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, gross misconduct is set in the video as Annex 13 in the first disc, presented herewith. A transcript to translation of the video is attached as Annex 13A to the affidavit support motion. Verification of the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture. On or around 12 September 2022, the Governor, 1, grossly violated Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2, grossly violated Section 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, grossly violated Section 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, engaged in gross misconduct by A, bullying and inciting the public against the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Honorable Franklin Mithika at a public rally held at Lare in Tunene Ward. B, falsely accusing the Cabinet Secretary of demanding a share of the county government appointment. C, falsely accusing the Cabinet Secretary of antagonizing and creating a wedge between her and the President and the Republic of Kenya. And D, falsely accusing the Cabinet Secretary of cartelism, blackmail, greed, corruption, and intimidation. Evidence: 1, gross violation of Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2, gross violation of Section 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, gross violation of Section 29 and 34 Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, gross misconduct is set in the video saved as Annex 13 in the first disc, presented herewith. A transcript stroke translation of the video is attached to Annex 13A to the affidavit supporting the motion. Verification of the MP for Tigania East constituency. On or around the 9th November 2022, the Governor and the husband, 1, grossly violated Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2, grossly violated Section 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, grossly violated Section 29, 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, engaged in gross misconduct by A, inciting the public against the member of Parliament for Tigania East constituency, Honorable Mpuri Aburi, at a public rally held at Mbaranga in Karama Ward. B, falsely accusing the MP for Tigania of demanding that the Governor appoint the MP's wife as a county executive committee member. C, falsely accused the MP for Tigania East of demanding that the Governor pre-qualifies his 12 companies for the award of county tenders. D, falsely accusing the MP for Tigania East of presenting fake pending bills for payment by the county government. And E, falsely accusing the MP for Tigania East of cartelism, blackmail, greed, corruption, and intimidation. Evidence: 1, gross violation of Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2, gross violation of Sections 19 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3, gross violation of Section 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4, gross misconduct is set in the video saved as Annex 14 in the first disc, presented herewith. The transcript stroke translation of the video is attached as Annex 14A to the affidavit in support of the motion. Verification of the Catholic Church and clergy. On or around 17th October 2022, the governor, 1. Grossly violated Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2. Grossly violated Sections 19 of the Public Offside Act. 3. Grossly violated Section 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4. Engaged in gross misconduct by A. Inciting the people against the Roman Catholic Church and the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Meru, Mr. Salesius Mugambi, at a public rally held at the former Ikoji Boys Secondary School. B. Falsely accusing the Catholic Church of grabbing public land. C. Falsely accusing the Catholic Church of Catholicism, blackmail, greed, corruption, and intimidation. D. Conducting a mock public prayer to demean and humiliate the Catholic Church and the Catholic clergy. And E. Inciting the public against religious leaders while knowing that church conduct can easily trigger violent reactions and pose a serious breach of the peace. Evidence of the governors. A. Gross violation of Articles 10, 73, 75 of the Constitution, and 2. Gross violation of Section 19 of the Public Officers Ethics Act. 3. Gross violation of Section 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. And 4. Gross misconduct is set in the video saved as Annex 15 in the first disc presented herewith. The transcript translation of the video is attached as Annex 15A to the affidavit in support of the motion. Forced entry into the assembly, presence, and the mobilization of unlawful riot against members of the assembly. On or around 19th October 2022, the governor and the husband, 1. Grossly violated Article 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2. Grossly violated Sections 5 and 7 of the County Assembly's Powers and Privileges Act 2017. And 3. Engaged in gross misconduct by A. Forcefully entering the premises of the Assembly. B. Falsely accusing members of the Assembly and other elected leaders of Catholicism, blackmail, greed, corruption, and intimidation. C. Organizing a violent demonstration against the members of the Assembly at the Assembly presence. And D. Addressing a riotous crowd at the presence of the Assembly. Evidence of the governor and the husband. 1. Gross violation of Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution. 2. Gross violation of the Privileges Act 17. And 3. Gross misconduct is set in the videos saved as Annex 16 and Annex 17 in the first disc presented herewith. The transcript translation of the videos are attached as Annex 16A and Annex 17A, the affidavit in support of the motion. Violation of public finance management laws. On 6 September 2022, the governor, 1. Grossly violated Articles 201 and 207, 1 of the Constitution. 2. Grossly violated Section 109, 2, and 159 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. 3. Grossly violated Section 12 and 24 of the Public Officers Ethics Act. 4. Grossly violated Section 16 and 35 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. 4. Engaged in gross misconduct. And 6. Engaged in gross abuse of office by A. Directing the Melo Teaching and Referral Hospital to spend all revenue at source, whereas all monies raised or received by all on behalf of the county should be paid into the county revenue fund. 2. Issuing waivers on fees at the Melo Teaching and Referral Hospital, whereas the county executive committee member for finance is the only person legally empowered to grant church waivers and C, directing county government officers to participate in furthering and advocating the interest of the Vita TV, a media station owned by Mwangaza and Advertiser Limited, a private company owned by the governor through our close relatives as proxies. Evidence of the governors: 1, gross violation of Articles 201 and 207 of the Constitution. 2, gross violation of Section 109(2) and 159 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. 3, gross violation of Section 12 and 24 of the Public Officers Ethics. 6, gross abuse of the office is set in the video saved as Annex 18. In the first disc presented herewith, a transcript translation of the video is attached as Annex 18A to the affidavit supporting the motion. Further evidence is the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission data dated 19th October 2022, and the document attached as Annex 18B and Annex 18C to the of CECs. On around the 8th November 2022, the governor engaged in 1, gross misconduct; 2, grossly violated Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution; 3, grossly violated Section 10(1) of the Public Appointment County Assemblies Approval Act 2017; and 4, grossly violated Sections 3, 4, 10, and 11 of the Meru County Retention Enhancement Fund Act 2016 by 1, by A, verifying members of the Assembly for refusing to approve some County Executive Committee (CEC) nominee at a public hearing held at Kiangwa in Igoji West. B, falsely accusing members of the Assembly of shortchanging custom chain and other nominees for appointment to the CEC. C, illegally instructing custom chain usurp the statutory powers of the Igoji West Ward Retention Enhancement Fund Committee by identifying the persons that will benefit from county bursary funds. D, failing to submit the names of other candidates to the county assembly for approval for appointment to the CEC after the assembly rejected some nominees. E, reorganizing government to 6 departments and direct 3 CEC's members after the rejection of some nominees instead of submitting names of other candidates to the county assembly for approval. And F, swearing to appoint to a government and actively work with the results of the 2022 county elections instead of duly elected MCAs to steer ruggles within the assembly. Evidence of the governors: 1, gross misconduct; 2, gross violation of Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution; and 3, gross violation of Section 10(1) of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017 is set in the videos saved as Annex 19 and Annex 20 in the flash disk presented herewith. The transcript of the video are attached as Annex 19 and Annex 20A to the affidavit in support of the motion. Honourable members, before we begin the debate on the motion that is now before the House, it is a fundamental principle in law that an accused person has right to be heard and to face the accuser on the allegations before them. Indeed, this is essential of the Articles 47 and 50 of our Constitution. To this end, To this end, the office of the clerk and invited access the governor of Meru County, whether by herself or by council, to appear before the county assembly via a letter dated 16 December 2022, reference number MCA/GC/1/VOL 1/17, to respond to the allegations under consideration by the county assembly pursuant to the provisions of standing order number 68 and 69(3) of the county assembly of Meru standing orders. Unfortunately, I do not see the governor or any council for the governor before this sitting today. This therefore can only mean that Her Excellency the governor has chosen to forego a right to be heard, and therefore direct that we proceed with debate on the motion before the House. If, however, Her Excellency the governor appears before conclusion of the debate on the motion before the House and before the mover of the motion responds, I will accordingly proceed to give her the right to respond to the debate before the House in line with the provisions of Article 47 and 50 of the Constitution, as well as the standing order number 69(3) of standing order or 69(3) of our standing orders. Honourable members, as now we are free to catch the Speaker's eye and make their debate on the motion. Thank you, honourable members. Thank you, honourable members. Honourable Acheri.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir. My name is Dasheri Mudhuri, a nominated member of this August House. Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for catching my hand early enough. Mr. Speaker, sir, I must say today is a very sad day for the women of Meru and for the women of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are here debating the impeachment of a fellow woman. And Mr. Speaker, sir, as a woman, I really feel saddened because for very many years, Mr. Speaker, sir, women have fought to have this space of being heard, to sit in tables where they can be heard and not only be seen. But one, Mr. Speaker, one Honorable Kawira Mwangaza has proved to be a leader who is not ready to work with other women leaders, has proved to be a leader who, Mr. Speaker, as the mover of the motion, has clearly put it, who has broken so many laws, Mr. Speaker. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, as women, we are really supporting the impeachment, and personally I'm supporting the impeachment of one Honorable Kawira Mwangaza. Mr. Speaker, sir, I had an opportunity of listening to several people in Abogeta sub-county who brought their memorandums and were able to talk, Mr. Speaker. And one of the things, Mr. Speaker, that the people of the divergent opinion, Mr. Speaker, was saying, they were saying that one Honorable Kawira is being fought because she's a woman. Mr. Speaker, this is a propaganda, and I want to create, Mr. Speaker, that we are here as women. We are not fighting. It's not a gender. It's not a gender fight, Mr. Speaker, but it is a fight, Mr. Speaker, of leaders who are not adhering to the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And that's why we are saying as women, this is not a gender fight, but it is a fight for leaders who are not adhering to the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, when I listened to the people of Abogeta, a large percent of them sent us with one thing, that they were tired of the fights, and they're tired, Mr. Speaker, of having a leader who is not working with other people. And they sent us with one mission, and they sent us with one voice, that please go and represent our voice and say that we don't require Honorable Kawira Mwangaza as the governor of Meru. Mr. Speaker, sir, when I listened to them, a majority of them who turned up, one of the things that came to my mind is a quote that is usually quoted, Mr. Speaker, that the voice of the majority is the voice of God. I believe, Mr. Speaker, the people of Abogeta in South Imenti spoke, and their voices could be the voice of God. That's why, Mr. Speaker, I think at this particular time, I really support the impeachment of one Honorable Kawira Mwangaza. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, there is one thing that I want to really say. We have the national cake or the county cake, which is not like the wedding cake, Mr. Speaker. It is shared according to whoever the national cake or the wedding cake is shared to everybody who attends the wedding. But, Mr. Speaker, the national cake or the county cake is shared depending with who is holding the knife. Mr. Speaker, when one Honorable Kawira is holding the knife, Mr. Speaker, we are worried because, Mr. Speaker, like on Jamhuri Day, we saw the people of Metongo being given what the governor termed as Christmas. Mr. Speaker, it was so humiliating to find the flowers of Unga being thrown to the people. Mr. Speaker, this is human, the human dignity, Mr. Speaker, was violated. And I really feel, Mr. Speaker, the people of South Imenti, they are not so miserable, Mr. Speaker, that we get the unga being thrown to the people like dogs. That's why, Mr. Speaker, I feel one Honorable Kawira Mwangaza violated the human rights, Mr. Speaker, by allowing people to really, probably a stampede could have been caused, Mr. Speaker. That's why I feel, Mr. Speaker, one Honorable Kawira Mwangaza really violated the human rights and made people to feel so miserable by throwing the unga that was being thrown to them. That's why I really support that, Mr. Speaker, time has come to redeem the people of Meru by having Kawira Mwangaza being impeached. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Gacheri. Yes, Honorable Mutungi.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the purpose of record, I'm Mutungi representing the greater people of Amwadi Ward, and I stand here to support the impeachment of Excellency Honorable Kawira Mwangaza because he is not qualified for the task. Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, she is a comedian, she is a liar, she is immoral, because I can't expect her own governor to lecture her husband in front of Meru people instead of lecturing or telling people how much she will move Meru forward by either introducing some new techniques, either additional bursaries, but instead she lectures to us how the reason as to why she loved her husband, Morea Baisu, by the long beard Morea has. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to support the impeachment of Her Excellency Honorable Kawira Mwangaza.
Thank you, Honorable Mutungi. Honorable Mbiuki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Godwin Mutembei Mbiuki, representing the people of Igoj West. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support the motion to impeach one Honorable Kawira Mwangaza. Mr. Speaker, I've always wondered who advises the governor. At one given time, when we were in terms, I even wrote a text to her, inquiring to know who are legal advisors. But she retorted back to me. Mr. Speaker, I want to bring to the attention of this House and even to the attention of the public that in the month of July, before the elections, there was a committee that was formed for the purpose of ensuring that there is that smooth transition and also to ensure that the governor assumes office and works smoothly. And this committee, on assumption of office of the governor, was allocated a total of 11.2 million shillings for its operation. And this amount of money, Mr. Speaker, was approved by the controller budget to ensure that the government doesn't face any handle in terms of ensuring that functions work smoothly. Mr. Speaker, the document, the report is ready, and the governor has that report on his desk, on our desk. And Mr. Speaker, I've also been wondering whether she has time to look for that report. And instead of looking at that very critical document, which, Mr. Speaker, you will allow me to write a few things about the report, the governor is busy traversing the entire county, doing a lot of nothing, and pretending to be doing a lot of good. And what he's doing is just planting what we call seeds of discord, creating enmity, inciting the public against especially and specifically the members of this county assembly who have been legally elected by the members to represent them as per the constitution. Mr. Speaker, there are a number of things that the governor is supposed to have accomplished in between when she was elected as the governor, when she was sworn in as the governor, up to date, and none of this. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to go through some of these. Mr. Speaker, this committee was formed on 23rd. The report of the committee is dated on 23rd of 9, 2002. And a total of 11.209 million was allocated for this committee to sit down, come up with a report to ensure that the governor rules without any problems. On the 1st of September, the planning committee or the planning department was to submit a development plan to this assembly for their approval. Mr. Speaker, if this report was brought here, somebody should correct me and inform me that this report was brought here. It was never brought. And that was the first responsibility of the governor. And she has that report with her on her table. Whether she didn't say it or not, I don't know. Mr. Speaker, on that 30th of September, the county treasury should have prepared accounting budget reviews and outlooks, then to forward to the county assembly to consider and approve. Mr. Speaker, this has not been done. On that 1st of October 2022, the county treasury should have published their first quarterly budget implementation reports through the county website. Mr. Speaker, it has not been done. Let me stop there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you look, all mechanisms have been put in place. They are put in place to ensure that we don't encounter these problems. The government doesn't encounter these problems. But, Mr. Speaker, what it proves is that sincerely and honestly, the governor of Meru has no capacity. And that is what I want even the public to consume.
Honorable Mbiuki, when you say the governor has no capacity and he was in your ward, what does it mean, Honorable Member?
Mr. Speaker, I'm saying he doesn't have the capacity because he doesn't know what he's even supposed to be doing. Because when he was in my ward, in fact, he was coming to take my powers, which have been given constitutionally. Mr. Speaker, the chapter 1 of the Constitution is very clear about the supreme power, which belongs to the people, which they can exercise directly or indirectly through their representative. Mr. Speaker, for my case, as far as the US my ward is concerned, I've been given that supreme power. It has been delegated to me. So what the governor was doing in my ward was in disregard to the Constitution, and it was illegal in totality, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, with those few words, I am begging to support and urge all these honorable members to ensure that we impeach the governor very fast.
Thank you, Honorable Mbiuki. Honorable Mobichi, what is it, Mheshimiwa?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. For the purposes of record, my names are Frederick Mobichi Kirema, presenting great people of Unyaki West. It is my humble submission that Article 10 of Constitution of Kenya 2010 provides principles and values of good governance, Mr. Speaker. These values and principles binds all state organs, state officers, and all persons applying, interpreting Constitution, interpreting the law, and when making public policy decision, Mr. Speaker. Among other values and principles, Mr. Speaker, is sharing of devolution of power, inclusiveness, good governance, transparency, accountability, and then Governor Mwangaza is not a person of inclusivity. Instead, she's a person of unilateral decisions. She has completely undermined this honorable assembly by disrespecting the members' MCA, disrespecting members and honorable assembly. It has eroded trust, consequently leading to bad governance, Mr. Speaker. She has completely failed to conduct herself in integrity, humility, and respect for others, Mr. Speaker. Governor Kawira Mwangaza, she has failed to meet constitution standards and her stay in the office of governor is no longer tenable. It is long overdue, Mr. Speaker, sir. This motion has raised a lot of issues of law, which has come to my conclusion that I support the impeachment of Governor Kawira Mwangaza. For one, she is not a person who will tolerate anybody in her leadership. She only assumes that other leaders who are elected, they are there for the sake of being there. She is the only person who she thinks that she can be able to handle issues pertaining the people who we do represent. And for these good reasons, Mr. Speaker, I do conclude by saying so, that today, I honor this honorable assembly by offering themselves to make sure that today, Governor Mwangaza will be impeached.
Thank you.
And I thank you for all of you cooperating and having this motion carried well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Movichi, Honorable Kirinya, Wendia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Kirinya Mwenda for the purpose of records, and I'm specially elected by Devolution Empowerment Party and also representing the great youths and the most vibrant youths of this county, Mr. Speaker, sir. To begin with, let me say bravo, bravo, bravo to Honorable Dennis Kiogora for coming up with this motion. It is not easy to slay the dragon. It requires a lot of energy, a lot of zeal, and bravo, my brother, for taking up this initiative. Number two, Mr. Speaker, we had the late Professor George Saitoti, who said that there comes a time, Mr. Speaker, when the nation is much more important than an individual. And I dare say this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, that there comes a time when this county of Meru is more important than an individual, Mr. Speaker. Why am I saying this, Mr. Speaker? everybody across this country is cracking their hands because of what is happening in Meru. It's a shame. And the problem is one person, Mr. Speaker. And that person is none other than the governor of Meru County. Therefore, if the governor of Meru County is the problem, then there comes a time when this county is more important than that governor, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we must, it is our duty as an assembly, as honorable members of this house, to impeach that one person so that the most revered county of Meru regains its former glory, Mr. Speaker. Number three, Mr. Speaker, I will dwell mostly on the abuse of office. And those who abuse office...
Honorable Kirinya, what do you mean? You mean Meru lost glory because Kawira is the governor?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. And because there is a lot of shame Meru is undergoing as a result of how the governor conducts herself. We've seen, Mr. Speaker, even in Articles 10 of the Constitution and also Article 73 talks of Article 73 talks of bringing honor to that office itself, and also bringing honor to the county you're representing and the people you're representing, Mr. Speaker. And instead of the governor of Meru bringing honor to the office and to the people of Meru, it is a shame, Mr. Speaker, the governor has brought to the people of Meru. That is why, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying that Meru has to regain its former glory. Meru has to regain its former, standing in the league of other counties, Mr. Speaker. And I was talking about abuse of office, Mr. Speaker. Yes.
Condense your contribution in 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll do that. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm talking about abuse of office, and I'm saying those who abuse office are dictators, Mr. Speaker. And history is replete with examples of dictators who have abused office. And one of the characteristics of dictators who abuse office is by appointing your spouses, appointing your family members and relatives into office, public offices, Mr. Speaker. We have seen examples of even African dictators, like the one from Uganda has the wife holding public offices, Mr. Speaker. We've had even other dictators, the late Mugabe, who and a wife to the state offices, Mr. Speaker. And therefore here in Meru, we also have a dictator who has, Mr. Speaker, decided to award a public office. And then she's duping all and sundry, all Merus and Kenyans, that this husband doesn't have allowances and salaries, Mr. Speaker. But you see, I want to tell Merus, please don't be duped. Don't be so gullible to believe that because now the husband and the wife, the husband doesn't receive any salary, Mr. Speaker, that is not an abuse of office. Remember, Mr. Speaker, this husband uses public resources to access that office. He uses public vehicles. He uses public staff, Mr. Speaker, to serve the office that is purported not to have any salary, not to have any allowances, Mr. Speaker. That is an abuse of office, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, that particular husband, Mr. Speaker, has a lot of influence. Remember, Meru, the service, has a budget of 100 million, Mr. Speaker. That 100 million, Mr. Speaker, will be overseen by that one patron who has been illegally put in the office by the wife. So, Mr. Speaker, I submit that I support the removal of the governor from office for the abuse of office. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mwendia. Honorable Mirit Kangwana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For purpose of record, I'm Duncan Kangwana Mriti, representing the great people of Maua. I rise to support the motion to impeach the one Kawira Mwangaza. Mr. Speaker, if Kawira under her own constitution as she is using, then I will defend her today. But as long as we have the constitution that was passed by Kenyans the year 2010 and overwhelmingly voted for it on 4th of August and promulgated it on 27th of August, then Kawira has to go because she cannot be redeemable according to the constitution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the behavior of our governor has led me to do some research. And when I tried to compare her with other dictators, trying to compare with Amin Danda of Uganda, but I found Amin Danda loved the opposite gender. But Kawira, she is contrary. She loves no one. She hates everybody, crushing everybody, Mr. Speaker. I tried to compare her with Saddam Hussein, but I found Saddam Hussein was working with other leaders. Kawira is working with nobody, Mr. Speaker, sir. I compared to compare with Osama bin Laden, the greatest terrorist. But I find Osama bin Laden was fighting the religion war. But Kawira is fighting her own people. Kawira is redeemable and Kawira has to go. Mr. Speaker, I'm very fearful now because I don't know what will happen to our leaders who are called after that name. Men will run away from them unless they are purified. Because Kawira is a bad omen to Marian, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, Kawira has set a bad example to Marian, and Marian have lost their glory. And for us to recover and proclaim our glory, Kawira must go. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mereti, I wish you withdraw that one Kawira as a bad omen. You know, my last born daughter is called Kawira.
Mr. Speaker, you have to call
and
all men.
I will be in problems when I go home in the evening. Please proceed, Honorable Mereti.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw, but some spiritual measures must have taken because so that our men or people may know that the name Kawira is not on that band because there are some daughters who have been named before that name, but purification must be done so that many people may understand. Because Kawira has now turned as an insult to Marian, and as many people are saying that Kawira is a queen, a drama queen, and don't concur with them because dramas are meant to make people happy. But Wa is contrary. She is making people wail and cry, and even people are not comfortable with our governor. So because I don't want to take much time, today I want to say that the people of Maua have allowed me to vote my vote that Kawira has to go.
Thank you, Honorable Merit, and also thank you for doing that. The Kawira name is abandonment. Honorable Kananu.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for catching my eye. My name is RUTO Kananu, specially elected by Mbas Party. Mr. Speaker, with a lot of humility, kindly allow me to appreciate our legend, none other than Honorable Dennis Kiogora, for moving this amazing motion to protect the Meru people from the dictatorship leadership. Mr. Speaker, sir, today is a very sunny day, as one of us said, Honorable Gasheri. Many people might think we are impeaching Kawira because she's a woman, but it's better to call a spade and not a big spoon to protect our future generation. Mr. Speaker, sir, for the viewers, impeaching Kawira today, it goes without saying. One, we have seen Governor Kawira is a liar. She has been trespassing to this county, lying to the people that she's the only worthy leader who can safeguard the resources of Meru County, especially the 12 billion that really comes in this county. Other leaders are cartels, they are thieves, and they are corrupt. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have seen Governor Kawira saying in Lare, they're accusing our Senator Kaduri, our CEC Agriculture, Honorable Medika Lentore, saying that they wanted the share to take the half of our government. That is very serious, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have heard from the mover that Governor Kawira was accusing the MCA, saying that they were throwing stones to her, and when you look at the clips, it was opposite, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Governor Kawira is a governor who cannot move out of our way to look for some partners to help this county. And with a lot of your respect, kindly allow me to appreciate Governor Kiraito in absentia. We have seen Governor Kiraito championing Mountain Run Marathon to build cancer center to help our cancer patients. We have seen Governor Kiraito going all the way to Southern Korea to look for the partners to empower our farmers. They built hatcheries for our farmers. To make matters worse, Mr. Speaker, they sponsored our farmers fully to go to the Southern Korea to do benchmarking. One of us can attest to that. She went there as a farmer, but not an MCA. Governor Kawira cannot take this county to the next level, Mr. Speaker, according to her capability. And I want to say this without any fear. Governor Kawira cannot bring any honor to this county or even nation, Mr. Speaker. Governor Kawira cannot demonstrate respect to the other people as per the Article 73 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kananu, please, can you conclude your remarks?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. To sum up, I want to say for the Meru County to reclaim its glory, Kawira must go. For the Meru County to stay clean of guitar, shame, and embarrassment, Kawira must go. For Meru men to reclaim their misused behinds, dignity, Kawira must go. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to urge all the leaders who are in this house today. For the future generation, let us carry ourselves in a pleasing behavior to protect our future generation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kanano. Honorable Aurelio Murangiri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this great motion. For purposes of record, my name is Aurelio Murangiri Kiramana, representing the great people of Mudara. First of all, let me say bravo to my brother DMK Kyogora, an ardent fighter for the wellness of the people since our days in campus. I want to say, he's the cat beller. That's what I call him. Today, I would equate him to the modern day Robin Hood, who was there in the medieval England. I want to say this, that these are critical times for our county, for us as leaders. And critical times call for critical measures. Today we'll go down the history of Meru County and the history of this republic as a day when leaders or the members of this honorable assembly chose on which side of this war they will be. I want to say that in this house, I see gallant sons and daughters of this country, of this great county of ours. I don't see foxes, I don't see cartels. I want to say that we, as honorable members of this house, duly elected by our people, we were mandated to protect the law, to protect the constitution of this country and the laws that govern our land. Every one of us took an oath of office to protect the law fearlessly, and without any favor. And today we are being put to test. I want to say that in front of us, the clips that have been played by through DMK, the issues that have been mentioned in this motion clearly depicts mutilation of the law. It clearly shows that the law is being raped in front of our very own eyes, we who should be the defenders of this law. And should we not tame this habit? And should we not take drastic measures? I tell you, Meru will be a land of lawlessness.
Honorable Murangiri, please conclude your remarks.
I want to say this, that in the interest and in the best interests of the people of Meru, today, in this honorable house, that we must remedy the problem that we are having. And this problem will not be done through first aid. It will be done through a radical surgery. And the only radical surgery that can be done in this honorable house is to have the problem of this county of ours, of the leadership of this county of ours, to be removed from office. And that is the impeachment of the governor, Kawira Mwangaza, so that we can have someone who is ready to work with other leaders. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Murangiri. Please allow me to give to my student, Honorable Muna, before he strongly talks against the teacher. Honorable Muna, please take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And for the records, I'm Nicholas Kenyo Amuna Josephat, representing the people of Nyakist. And may it be known expressly that from the onset, I'm supporting this motion. But before I table my comprehensive contribution, Mr. Speaker, I would like to take you back to the 18th century, in a time where there was a great period referred to as the period of enlightenment by historians. Others prefer to call it the age of reason. It was a period in which in continental Europe, people chose to deviate from the customs and traditions that bound them, and they chose to experiment on ideas. They chose to think. They chose to reason. And as a result, that society was greatly emancipated from mediocrity. It was a period that gave modernity a room. It is a period that gave us science greats like Sir Isaac Newton, he of the laws of motion in physics, as well as René Descartes, he of the Cartesian plane in mathematics, as well as Charles Baron, who is the father of the doctrine of separation of powers. It is a period that we can't ignore because today, as an assembly, we have been called upon to think and to reason on behalf of the people who sent us here. We are here to give them a direction on what is ailing our great county. And Mr. Speaker, what is happening in our county today is a mockery of the quinquennial event that we call a general election. People vote sometimes to choose the best, but at times they choose the worst. But the framers of the Constitution that we have today were very wise because they gave us a leeway of correcting the mess whenever it was. And this is what this Honorable Assembly is bound to do and will ultimately do. Mr. Speaker, one resident of this county, Mwalimu Morris Giteyen Toakwalo, has continually described this county as Miss Kenya of Kenyan counties because it's a beautiful county. But on the opposite, we are witnessing our county being in the news for the wrong reasons. You are at a shame to walk in the streets of any part of this country and call yourself a Momeru. But today we want to reclaim that glory by putting our interests as a county where they are supposed to be and to rise above again and being described as a beautiful county. We are saying never again, never shall we have this county being hanged by the string of a guitar. We are very passionate about this county, Mr. Speaker. But we have been put in the news even for the flimsy reasons of a musical instrument that is being misused at the expense of elected leaders in this assembly, in the National Assembly, in the Senate, who are supposed to be giving directions on where we are heading as a county. We have a county supremo, a CEO, who chooses disunity over unity, who chooses disharmony over harmony, who chooses disrespect over respect. And Mr. Speaker, unless something is done, and this honorable house will do it, we are on the wrong path as a county. Mr. Speaker, finally, this county is mentioned in tandem with heroes. It is the home of Musa Mwariama. It is the home of Baimungento Marete. It is the home of Ntaiwa Nkuraru, and other liberation heroes who chose to lay their life so that we get what we have today. But this is not mentioned. It is the quarrels that come with the flimsy ones, like kaende kaende, kabati kabati, some slogans that should not come out of a person in the capacity of a governor of this county. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge this honorable house to do the needful, and that is to impeach the governor of this county, Honorable Kawira Mwangaza. Without much ado, I do support.
Thank you, Honorable Josephat Muna. I can see the majority, his hands is up, and one of members is the most senior member in the assembly, and when his hand is up, we cannot say no to reason to him. I'll take the floor, the majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I appreciate that you, for sure, appreciate that I'm the most senior person, both in body and rank in this Honorable Assembly.
Thank you. Remember, I also served as a majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
So I know the powers that are bestowed upon the leader majority.
I appreciate, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I appreciate that we are debating a very crucial motion that is before this Honorable House. And Honorable Speaker, I have not risen to give my contribution to the motion, which I expect maybe to do after resumption of this debate. But Honorable Speaker, earlier on I requested that to extend the sitting time from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. And Honorable Speaker, from my watch here, I can see we have only 12 minutes to go. And because I understand that so many members have not yet contributed to this motion, I rise on a point of order, Honorable Speaker, that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 971, the debate be now adjourned, and maybe the resumption of debate will be done in the afternoon sitting, Honorable Speaker. And having said that, I will still request my neighbor here, Honorable Honorable Ali, to second the motion. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Ali, please, the Deputy Speaker, take the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. For the purposes of record, I'm Ali Mwenda, representing the great people of Jawad and the Deputy Speaker. So I stand to second the motion of adjournment, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Ali, the Deputy Speaker. Honourable members, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 54.1, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order number 971, the debate be now adjourned. And having proposed the question, then honourable members, any member willing to make a contribution can do so. Yes, Honourable Ken.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For records purposes, I'm Honourable Kennedy Maingi Muteri, specially elected by Jubilee Party to represent the young people in the county. I stand in support of the motion to adjourn the sitting. This is because, Mr. Speaker, this is not being a simple matter. It is also a very weighty matter that members need enough time. And I believe we as members, we all deserve an equal chance to debate the matter. I stand to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Ken. Honourable Muredi.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika sababu ya kunipatia nafasi hii. Kwa sababu ya kumbukumbu za rekodi hili njumba, mimi naitwa Mheshimiwa Mredhi na wakilisha eneo la wadi ya Gembe na pia naibu wa wachache katika hili bunge. Tuna masuala tumbi nzima Mheshimiwa Spika ambao tunafaa kuangazia siku ya leo. Maana siku ya leo ni siku ya ndovu kumula manawe. Hivi kwamba tunafaa kuwa na muda ambao si muda mchache bali tuwe na muda ambao unafaa zaidi tuweze kuangazia yale ambayo yatufaa na yale yako mbeleni. Kwa hivyo nasimama kuunga mkono. Asante.
Thank you Ona Mredhi. Hata kama siwezi sikia ndovu akiwa amekula mwanawe. Ona Ufrinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. For the purpose of record, my name is Frida Naitogitobu. Speaker, I stand to support the motion by Honorable Mawera that we really need to energize for this motion, Mr. Speaker. We have a lot and a lot and a lot to tell our Meru people and the country as wide that we really need to re-energize and come back and tell our Meru people whatever we want to do with our governor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Frida. Then if there is no other contribution, what is it, Honorable Nkonja?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support the adjournment of the motion because the evidence we have against our governor is very much, and we have not enough time to debate. So I support the adjournment.
Thank you, Honorable Nkonja. You are around, the law allows you to debate even up to tomorrow morning. Now, this juncture, I allow the mover to reply. The mover, please take the floor. Honorable Majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I'm grateful for the support from members. We'll be able to ventilate more maybe in the afternoon sitting, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader Majority. Now, Honourable members, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 54-2, I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 971, the debate be now adjourned. Will as many as of a similar opinion say aye? Will as many of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it and the motion is passed. Clerk, let's take the next order.
Order number 9, adjournment.
Thank you, honour members. This House stand adjourned up to today, Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Thank you, honour members.
Inyako was sorry.
AJ Newero TV. This Christmas.